Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. I guess I'm back in my puberty days. My voice is cracking.
I was just going to tease you about that.
I wish.
Well,
no, actually, I don't wish.
Morning, Bill. Morning, Bill.
Remember those days when your testosterone was high, you know? And all you wanted to do was chase girls, and your voice cracked and your pimple popped. Remember? No. That didn't happen to you.
Don't
right?
remember those days.
Okay.
He blocked them,
Yeah.
like permanently.
I'm still
deleted
trying.
them.
Peter's going to start beginning with a 7 pretty soon. Yeah, that's why. When we make offers, we say, well, my number begins with a 7.
Yeah.
You guys asking 140,000. You're like, my number begins with a 7.
They'll be like 700,000. Wow, that's great.
All right, so here we are, episode 107.
That sounds good.
Talk about sevens, right?
Ends with a 7.
107. And I don't want you to be confused with this long, drony title. A word that Naomi taught me. Drony title.
Droning on. There you
Droning on. Okay, you ready, Pete?
It's all right. We're
Go
used
for
to
it,
it.
Bill.
You ready? Yeah, we're used to it. Yeah.
We'll hang on to every word.
Here we go. Millionaire math. That's today's title.
That's good. That's a good start.
Like it so far.
Interesting concept that I have not shared with either one of you, but we are going to do that today.
Our eyes just bugged out, both of us. You see that? You're boing.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the description. How many different ways can you collect $1 million?
Ooh,
Wheelbarrow.
this could be a little overwhelming. There's a
big
lot of different
luggage.
ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Big bags.
Have you done the math to know the possibilities? Peter?
Yes.
Peter's goofing around. You have? Well, I can't wait to hear that. Listen to this podcast to gain a new perspective on how real it can be. Wealth requires simple, basic math. Ask any wealthy person and they will tell you this. In fact, math will create the possibility in your mind. Once this is done, you can then create the strategy. Most don't do the basic step. Thus, the strategy doesn't work. So if you have a goal of making $1 million, listen to this entire podcast and we will definitely make it achievable. What do you think? Naomi's
Sounds
looking at
sounds
me.
good.
She's got dancing, sparkling eyes. Go ahead, Naomi. What do you want to say? You're fancy with the $1 million thing.
No, it's quite simple.
Okay.
So to make $1 million a year, you need to make $20,000 a month.
Okay.
To make $20,000 a month, or no, $20,000 a week.
Oh.
And then to make $20,000 a week, you need to make $4,000 a day, which actually is doable. That's like a deal a day.
Okay.
You just need to amp that up.
A deal a day. So you want to do 30 deals a month?
No, 20 deals.
Oh, 20 deals.
20 deals.
She
Because
doesn't work on the weekend, Bill.
that's right.
Wait.
If you're doing a deal a day, you're not working on a weekend. You're going to collapse, okay? It's not going to be that way.
So it would be, granted, it could be only 2 deals a week. So that's 2 but if they're 2 $10,000 deals, or you could do 1 deal a week if it's 1 $20,000 deal. Did I confuse you, Pete?
No, but you're thinking of making the money all at once. And you got to do something where you make some money now, then as time goes on, it starts building and building and building, and it comes in.
Well, absolutely. I'm not opposed to that as well.
Yeah, that's too much work for this year.
Perspective.
Yeah, you line things up so the get cash flow, and then
you have capital gains, and then you have passive cash flow.
Sure, do some.
So you really want to have both.
That's right. Yeah, I just want to take a break to have Emma call my wife and tell her to listen to the podcast.
I texted Jesse before we listened. Is Jesse on, Emma? I texted Jesse. Yeah. Told her she should watch it. I meant to text her last night. I actually wrote the podcast last night, and I meant to text her, but it was late, so I was tired. So here's the interesting thing.
Oh, you got numbers.
I got numbers. Oh yeah, you can't look at those numbers, Peter.
I can't read them. Well, I read upside down really
got
well,
numbers.
actually.
I definitely got numbers.
Okay.
So here's the interesting thing. I find it very amusing, actually, because both of you were off on a tangent about how to make $1 million.
Yeah.
Tangent.
So
That's the
tangent.
title of the show.
I feel like that was interesting because that's what most people do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the interesting thing is that most people produce or will be in contact with $1 million already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of it this way: if you make 50 grand a year for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
you've made $1 million,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's what you do with it that makes
Trick
a
is we
difference.
spend that to live.
Mhm.
There's nothing else. You're like, I got nothing.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question, and this is not what I want to talk about, but if you're making 50 grand a year, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you're living on it,
Mm-hmm.
right, how hard is it to make another 50 grand a year and keep it?
Mm.
Right now, you know, Peter, I think more you than anybody that I know, other than myself, know that to make 50 grand in real estate is not hard.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you could do one deal or two deals a year and make
Mhm.
that amount of money.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So this is not how I want you to do it. I have other ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I broke the math down like you were talking about. But if you're already making 50 grand a year, and I mean, like, take the condo deal you did,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it was one deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just picked on that. I don't even know why I picked that one, but it's one deal, right? Where we found somebody that was willing to do owner financing on a condo, and it made, I think, $40,000. I don't remember.
Well, it's I'm building equity.
And you have passive cash flow, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
When the guy pays you, but that's
Right.
because you
I picked-
decided to let the guy stay.
Yeah. I picked up a check this morning in the mailbox.
That's a nice.
So,
Yeah.
how much did we pay for that?
50,000
Yeah,
owner financed.
and it was worth 75.
Yes, it's 65 maybe. You know, just without renovating it and all that. But yeah.
Okay.
The one right next to mine sold for 70, whatever shape that was.
Yeah, so I would think 70,000.
Yeah,
so,
I picked up at least 10 grand equity when I bought it, and every year I pick up another 5 grand equity,
All right, so the
just
first year you make
hold it.
25 grand
something like that.
because you got 20 grand in equity and 5 grand.
Yeah.
So if you did 2 of those deals a year,
Yeah.
you'd have an extra 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You do that for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a millionaire.
Actually,
Well,
the guy next to me who bought the one next door, he's on that little quest. I'm going to buy all the condos and buy another one. Go ahead. You know,
Right.
eventually
Yeah.
it'll add up.
Oh yeah.
But you don't think about it, right? I mean, you don't think about if you make 50 grand a year for 20
Mhm.
years, you've got $1 million,
Mm.
right? So what's the big
Well,
deal about the $1 million?
You said you got $1 million
Okay.
if you don't spend it. I've seen some things out there that are very old, or some very old advice was something like, whatever you make, put 10% aside. Do not spend it.
Mhm.
When you have some, invest it and do something. How many people even do that?
Right.
You know, they put it aside in its vacation, or they throw a party, or I don't know what, or just barely get by. Well,
I think a lot of
don't
peop-
have too much of a rent. Don't have too much of a
Mhm.
car. Don't have too much of all this stuff. If you made 10% less, you would have made do. Just cut back a little bit, put something aside. You have something to invest at least at some point.
exactly into invest, and I think a lot of
piss it
people
away.
don't think invest; they think save, or
Uh-huh.
like you said, vacation and things like that.
Or give it to some stock market and hope they make it for you. I don't trust anybody to make money for me. I'd rather struggle myself, win
Well,
myself,
here's the thing: if
lose
you take
myself.
10%, if you're making $1,000 a week and you take $100 away, if you just take it away, I don't care if you owe $10 million.
Mhm.
If you take $100 a week and just put it away somewhere where you can't see it, it's
Mhm.
not going to change your life,
Mhm.
whether you owe $10 million or not.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, that's true too.
just
Sure.
just take it away immediately.
Yeah, and if you need more money, you find a way to get a little more someplace, but that
Mhm.
would give you the money.
I mean, how many jobs do that where they have actually 401ks
Oh,
and
yeah,
that
and they
kind of
pull it
stuff
right
where
out.
they pull it out? You get your net paycheck, you don't even see it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So the 10% is not hard to do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, a lot of people don't think of that. Or they put in the 401k, they just wait till they get old someday, and then the money will be there, instead of maybe using it, investing it, and making it grow.
Right.
They
Exactly.
don't have that approach.
And if anybody wants to get help with this, then they can email me at info flippinghousesforrookies.com. But I actually have a guy that's really good at setting up IRAs and Roth IRAs. Now, the trick with a Roth IRA is if you don't make $150,000 a year, you can set up a Roth IRA. And that's a perfect place to do tax shelter, as you're aware. You can actually, well, you want to explain it? You want me to do it?
I'll do it. For the Roth IRA, what happens is a regular IRA is invested for you. Roth IRAs can be invested for you too, but the difference in a Roth is you don't pay any tax now. You pay the tax later.
No,
sorry, I got a package.
Yeah,
you
so
pay the
IRA is deferred.
Yeah, the IRA, but this one you pay the tax now, planning on when you get old, you'll have a lot of money and you won't have a low tax bracket. You know, I'd rather bet that I'm old and rich than old and poor in my little tax bracket.
So a standard IRA is deferred tax.
Yeah.
So you put the money in now, you get a tax break, and you're hoping that later on when you're older you have lesser of an income and it won't be such a high tax rate. That's a regular IRA.
Right. I personally don't like that. I kind of want to vote that I'm going to have a lot of money. Well, my father wasn't working, but he still had so much money coming in from things that he had taxes. So I don't know if it helped that much. But with the Roth, you pay the tax now, and you can use that money to invest. The trick with it is when you use the self-directed Roth IRA, you're directing where the money is put. So you can choose what you're doing with
you're
it.
Jumping ahead. So a Roth IRA is not, you're saying you pay the tax now. Why do you keep saying that?
On the Roth IRA.
There's no tax.
On your income.
No.
Yeah. Oh.
No.
No, okay.
No, there is no
I have
tax
one,
now.
and I don't pay the tax. I don't know why I'm saying that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you what you do is say you make $100,000 this year, and spendable money.
Yep.
Okay, or even $100,000. You're self-employed. You make $100,000. Like Naomi has her own business, right? So $100,000. Well, you could say you peel off $5,000 of that money and put it in a Roth IRA. The $5,000 is non-taxable, so her income is now taxable on $95,000. You put it in a Roth IRA. You can't use it till you're 59 years old, but it's tax-free.
Well, wait a minute. The other one is Roth. The regular one is tax-free. The traditional IRA.
No, you got it backwards. Look it up. You got it backwards. The standard IRA is a deferred tax.
Yeah. So the Roth is not deferred.
Right. There is no tax. It's a tax-free retirement.
No, you have to pay the tax now.
Is after tax is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's
the
confused.
Roth is after.
So if anybody wants any information on this, just email me at info@flippinghousesforrookies.com.
He will get you to the
my
expert
accountant because he makes me pay taxes on mine because I'm not paying taxes later.
Yes.
Well, you don't pay taxes later, do you?
No.
Then when you have to pay taxes now or later. You can't get away with it both times.
Okay, I understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
So your initial investment is after taxed money.
Yeah, you've already paid your taxes. You take whatever you have.
So what we're talking about is so now what happens if you put in $1,000 and in 20 years from now it's worth $20,000? The money in that IRA, the $19,000 you made in that IRA and the Roth IRA is non-taxable.
Right, because you already paid the tax before that on the $1,000.
Right. So the
and
dividends.
you got lucky to make a bunch of money. That's your luck. Too bad.
So the dividends made profit, and because it's in a Roth IRA, it's non-taxable.
That's the point.
Okay.
That's the point. Okay.
So here's the point: is if you put $1,000 into a Roth IRA, that means you can buy 10 houses at a $100 deposit.
That's right.
And you need to have it, like you said, self-directed, meaning that you guide or control
where you can
money
put
goes.
the investments. Exactly.
And if you email me again at info or bill at Flipping Houses for Rookies, I will send you the name of my guy that does that, and he makes it real simple. So I forgot his name. I know his name. I just don't know
the guy at the company.
Yeah, he's really good at it. I've sent many people his way, and he does a great job.
Yeah.
And
mine sent me a book that you can read, and it has great stories of how people have used real estate. And I can buy a guitar and out of the account, rent it to people, and not have to pay tax on it. I mean, you can do almost
a
anything
lot of different
except
things.
Insurance and loan money. There's a way to loan out of your account too, but like insurance, and, fancy stuff you don't do. But you can buy chicken and sell eggs and not have to pay tax. There's a bunch of things you can do.
But in some of the insurance products that are out there, like you can make some good secure funds from it, and it's more protected. There was like the largest insurance policy in the world was bought by some very wealthy guy, and I think Warren Buffett possibly, but I could be wrong, because it's actually works as a pretty good investment product as well.
Okay,
Anyhow, but
so-
not to
so-
get off on that.
No,
We're
so-
talking
so
about
the point is that we're talking about retirement money, or we're talking about future money, right? Now, Kiyosaki was very adroit in saying that the way to become a millionaire, or he didn't say a millionaire, become independently wealthy, is to, like, if you need $4,000 a month to live, make $5,000 a month, right? And make, that extra $1,000, just invest it, like what you're saying, or save it. So make sure you have more than what you need. But the point is how did you make that $5,000? And his point is if you have an asset that produces that, and you don't have to work, or you have to work very little for that income, then you're independently wealthy.
right.
So a lot of people think they need $1 million or they need multi-million dollars to retire, which is not necessarily true. You could just have enough assets that are spitting off income, right? Now I will tell you that if you think that if you think you're going to buy, say you need to make $5,000 a month, and you need 5 houses at we'll say $1,000 each, right? Which is impossible. Well, not impossible. It's not that easy to do. But let's say you need 5 houses or 10 houses at $500 a month.
Right.
You shouldn't plan on that, because there's always going to be somebody that doesn't pay. Somebody's going to be moving out. So just don't be so strict with the numbers. But we're gonna go. I'm gonna make it a little simpler. I broke down the math in a few minutes.
Nice.
Right. The important thing that I want to move on to is that for any goal to be achievable, right, you have to believe in it. You have to tenaciously believe in it.
You have to see it, taste it, feel it.
You have to be willing to give everything up for it, because you know it's going to work.
Exactly.
Right. What is that analogy? I forgot who wrote it, but the analogy is when the cat. I forgot the story, but I remember the end.
When
of
they
it.
burn the ships.
Yeah, they land
Right,
on an
so
island.
Exactly. When a fleet would go to to war to another island or to another country, the captain, the general, they would burn the ships, because you're either victorious, or you're just not going back.
Right.
But when you have that mindset that it's do or die,
right,
you do.
Yeah. So the ships hit the beach, and all the guys jump off, and they're ready for their first order, and he's like, burn the ships.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're gonna die on your sword, or we're gonna win. Which do you want to do? Right. And it's obviously dying by the sword is not usually an option. So it's like, but when you treat your business like that, or you treat your forget your business. If you just treat your life, you treat your ideas like that no matter what, it's going to happen. And I can tell you, I mean, I have scars and bruises that are if they showed up on my skin, I would be one uglier bastard than I already am, because I got to tell you, I have a lot of scars, because I've started businesses and done things, and I'm not any different than a lot of other people I know, but when you believe in yourself, because that's one thing that I have, is I believe in my ideas, right? But I'm that's where the dumbass thing comes in. It's not some self-deprecation type of thing. It's just sometimes I just jump in and I just try it. I have enough data or information that I think it might go, and I swing. And I go, and that's why I have all the stories I have. But it also is a lot of the reasons why I have what I do have. Right. And I'm a fool with that stuff. I've been a millionaire a few times and lost it a few times. I mean, it's not. It's just one of those things. But the point is that if you don't believe in your goal, or if you don't believe in what you're after, it won't work. And real estate's one of those things. I mean, you start telling people that you're going to buy and sell real estate. I mean, I know you ran into it. You still run into it with your kids, right? I mean,
they're just watching me work.
That's it. They're watching you, but they have money and can invest with you, but won't, because they don't believe in you enough, right? I mean, there must be people in your life. I have people still in my life. I mean, it's probably it's just come around. I mean, it's been 15 years, and it's only been the last couple of years that I've actually gotten the status that this is really what I do and how I do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's part of it, is embracing it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
in
the
general
part.
People are more respectful of it, though. Oh, you do real estate? It's not like
Right.
you're not one of them. One guy, I was buying wrought iron yesterday for stairs, railings, and the guy says, "Oh, you do like you flip?" It was almost like you flipped, but it was more like, like respectful. Oh, you do that? Like it's cool.
Mhm.
It's not like, oh, you're one of them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it
That's
used to
cool.
be that way when I first started.
Yeah,
You know,
you're one
Mhm.
of them.
Right.
I've been one of them a few different times of different kinds. So I'm used to being a one of them.
right.
But I'd rather be one of them than one of them.
A respectful.
Yeah.
All right. So to start off with, because I have a couple mathematical things I want to talk about, and I just kind of want to go through it. So, if you want to be a millionaire, right, or if you want to have $1 million, you need to figure out, well, what's going to get you $1 million? Are you going to sell popsicle sticks? You're going to sell, bicycle spokes, or are you going to sell houses? You know what I mean? So before you go through that, whatever that process is, and I'm gonna talk about that in a couple minutes. You can see on page 2.
Yipes.
Peter's like, you got some.
I
notes
think we
here."
better hang back and let him go.
So, actually, it was a pretty good drill for myself because I haven't done it in a while, and I've had some significant changes in my life that are going to have financial punches to me. They have already, and so I feel like I'm going through what a rookie has to go through. I feel like I'm kind of like rewinded a little bit because I've had a few things, health stuff. So, but anyways, so whatever your idea is, there's a couple questions you should ask yourself, I think, before you get started, right? So, like, are there enough of, like, suppose you want to, like, I don't know how to explain this. So let's just do it with real estate, So like, suppose you want to make, $10,000 a deal, like you're doing your math,
Right.
which we're going to talk about in a minute,
Right.
right? You're talking about you want to do a $10,000 deal, right? Are there enough $10,000 deals in your area or where you want to be?
To make that happen. Right.
Yeah,
Do the
and-
numbers support that?
Right. So like if you were if you were going to sell bottles of water,
Mm-hmm.
right, you'd have to know, is there enough bottles of water for me to do business, right? So in this particular case, I'm going to tell you that I already know the answer to that question. The answer is yes, there's plenty of those deals. Okay, that's why real estate is a good thing to do, is because there's plenty of it, right? So then the next question is, you have to ask who has these deals, right? So if you're going to start off with, okay, are there enough $10,000 deals, and I'm just using $10,000. It could be any number, 5,000, 20,000, whatever. Are there enough $10,000 deals in your area? That's the first question. Then the second question is, who has those deals, right? And I think this is the glory of what we help people with, because we've helped people, like, not only, I mean, you have plenty of evidence. Just call, all you have to do is just go into Google, right? Type for sale by owner in your city, state, or county, whatever way you do it, and Zillow alone will produce 100 or 200 leads. So that's how you would know, are there enough deals?
Right.
So there's enough deals. There's enough people to buy and sell real estate. The next thing is you have to ask yourself, who has these deals, which is what we've talked about in many shows, which is your message to market match, right? So what we prefer you to do, or I prefer you to do, is to start out with finding people that are willing to take payments until they can pay you off, right? And you do lease options and option agreements and slot deals and stuff like that. You could do the other deals, but we're going to talk about that again in a couple minutes, right? Then the first question is are there, I'm belaboring this, but the first question is are there enough $10,000 deals for you to do? Second question is who would you ask to do these deals? So I'm saying use for sale by owners. And then the third thing is, what do you need to do to collect the $10,000? Right? So that's kind of like a basic formula that anybody should use. Like, for example, your business is a management.
Correct.
Right?
Property
So you
management.
manage property management. So if you were to go in business, you would have to ask yourself, well, how many apartments are in New Haven?
Right. Right.
Right.
And are there enough apartments, available apartments, to make what I want to make?
Right. So if you know that your
And-
average fee is, we'll say, $200 per door,
Sure.
a made up number, but it's probably very low. But say it's $200
Mhm.
per door. Is there enough doors for you to make a viable living?
Exactly.
That would be the first question.
Exactly.
Then the second question would be, then you would ask, who has these deals? So who has these apartments, or who has these type of deals?
Mm-hmm.
And then the third question would be, what do I need to collect this money? Right. So that's kind of like the basics. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's your job or whether it's whatever. You know, like you're an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You ask, okay, how many jobs are available in the engineer market, right? I mean, so you get. Am I being clear? I don't feel
Well,
like
yeah,
I'm being
absolutely.
No,
It's
you
just,
are.
you're
How
being
would
very
that apply
clear.
to somebody who has a salary job or 40-hour week job?
Well, it's
What
the
do they
same
do?
thing. It's the exact same thing. Like you said, the engineer, you look and see, okay, what do I want to do? And are there jobs out there? It's just math and seeing, in the market. But in real estate, like you were saying, you just type into Google, into Zillow,
Right.
and you get automatically the numbers. Now, granted, I know that you, with some of your students, have ran into a few interesting situations where in their particular city, they actually didn't have like the best numbers, but then they just
Right.
looked at the next town over.
Right.
So it's just a thing of doing the math.
Right. Which is the next thing. It's all about the simple math. So I'm going to come back to this because I
Mhm.
think once I explain some of the other stuff that I want to talk about, I think it'll make more sense. So what I did was just the simple math to get $1 million. Okay. So if you were to do a $5,000 deal, in other
Mhm.
words, you were doing something like a slot deal,
Right.
okay, you would need to have 200 deals. Okay. So if you did one deal a month, that would take you 16 years to get $1 million.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Good. Watch how this scale works. This is amazing because that sounds like a lot, right? I think it sounds like a lot.
At my age, it's a long time, Bill.
Yeah. So if you were to make $10,000 a deal, which to me is like chopsticks. I mean, if you could make 5,000, you could make 10,000.
10,000.
I mean, honestly, it's just a matter of going back to what we were just talking about. How many of those deals can you do, and who has them?
Mhm.
Okay. So you need to do 100 deals at $10,000 a month. I'm sorry, $10,000 of profit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you did one of those a month, it would take you 8 years. Okay.
Right.
Now watch how this works. So, and the further down the scale you go, the more interesting it gets. So if you were to make $20,000 a deal, which is I think even easier to make than a $10,000 deal. Okay. I mean, I think I was averaging for a very long time $43,000 per deal.
Right.
It's not that way now, but I know it's more than 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So if you average $20,000 a deal, which is not hard.
Mm-hmm.
Honest to God, it's not hard. You have to pay attention. The first few deals, it won't be that way until you get used to things. But once you get used to them, $20,000 a deal is not hard. Okay? So if you did 6 deals a year, which is one every month, in 8 years, you got $1 million.
Wait, six deals a year.
Yeah.
One every 2
At
months.
$20,000. So if you want it, so however you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, 6 deals a year you can do while you're working for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Honest to God, you can do that. You'd have to be a little bit regimented. You have to like manage your time. Time management would be the thing.
Right.
But it doesn't take tons of time to do this. Okay. Now let's talk. I'm gonna hover over this $20,000 deal. Okay. So how hard is it, Naomi, to do a slot deal? Well, actually, that's not right. So if you do a slot deal,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably going to be a $5,000 or $10,000 profit.
I would imagine so.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because we're looking at $200,000 houses,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's very, very realistic.
What would happen if you started looking at $500,000 or $600,000 houses?
That would go up to probably around $50,000.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's perspective. So it's like,
Mhm.
where is your marketing going? Who are you talking to? That's what I was trying to make the point before. So where are these deals and who are you talking to? Right? So on a $500,000 house, okay, if you got 5% down,
Mhm.
that's $25,000, right? So if you did a slot deal and got 5% down on a $500,000 house, or even a lease option,
Mhm.
or just an option,
Right.
right? A lease option, I'm going to tell you, a lease option on a $500,000 deal is not hard, right? It's just not hard.
Right.
But the higher your numbers go, the more it is. Now, we were talking about, one of the things that we run into is when we start doing $800,000 houses or $1 million houses, you get, even if you got 10, they need jumbo loans to get those houses.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's more of a 20%.
So they need 20% with
you
the
can
bank.
actually.
So you can actually get 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So you get an $800,000 house, and 10% down is $80,000.
Yeah.
Because they have to come up with that other 80 before they can get the mortgage for the
They
house.
need 160 to buy on a jumbo loan. You need 160 to buy it.
So you can't take a small deposit on a house like that because it's not as
You need
likely
to-
that they can pull the rest off. Then if they
Exactly.
have that much now, so at least half sounds safe.
Right. The interesting thing is when you're dealing with the guy that has an $800,000 house, he's got different problems than the guy that has a $200,000 house.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy that has an $800,000 house is probably, in most cases, able to sustain his payments, and he's able to take whatever longevity, or he's able to absorb. There you go, absorb his payments.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Doesn't want to, but he's usually like that.
Right.
But think about it. So let's go down further down the scale. So $20,000 is not much. So if we're dealing with $200,000 or $300,000 houses, you should be making $20,000 a house.
Right.
Okay, because it's just 10%. I mean, even if you just did a lease option, and you leased from your seller, and then turn around leased to your buyer and got 10% down, it's not hard to get $20,000 deposit on a $200,000
Right.
house. Now, you may not have, you're not going to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry like throwing $20,000 at you, but if you do the right marketing and you do the right things, you'll get the money. Right?
That's true.
I know for a fact that, I mean, I will not take less. If I get a house on a subject to or getting the deed deal, I will not take less than $10,000. And we're selling $180,000, $200,000 houses, $230,000. I won't take less than $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know why? The $10,000 is the icebreaker, because now they don't want to lose their $10,000. $10,000 is a lot of money.
They're more committed.
$3,000, $5,000, $6,000.
That sounds like a deposit first and last month. Right?
Yeah.
That's like
Right. Where $10,000 is like, like 3,000 or 5,000. It's like they bought a car, and they don't want to pay it anymore, so they'll just let it be repoed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But $10,000, for some reason, it's just a mental.
Well, yeah. Somebody says, "I think we're gonna move out and lose the $10,000." Someone else is gonna start screaming at them.
Yeah.
No way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. You got two people, one screaming at the other. If anyone pulls that one, like, "Were you crazy?"
And now watch this. So $20,000. So you do 50 deals at $20,000, right? And you do 6 a year. That's 8 years. You got $1 million. So if you got a job, you got a way to sustain yourself. How hard is it to do 6 deals a year? I'm telling you, it's not hard. Okay, it's just not hard. Peter doesn't fully believe me at this point because he hasn't done 6 deals a year.
No, it's not. I don't disbelieve you. It's a couple renovations that I'm working on. Just been time absorbed because they're new for me, and I'm doing a lot. I'm doing more than I should. But the lease options and all the other ways, I know those don't take long. So when I have pretty soon, I'll have a little more time on my hands. I'm going to jump on those because they're not crazy time consuming.
Right.
And the profits are fine.
Right. Yeah. So just to clarify, and I hope you don't get insulted by this, but your age and where you are, you've decided you wanted chunks of dough, and we were going to do renovations. Right, and I think that's kind of adjusted in your head because
no, it's only half. It's only half of that. Sometimes we make the phone calls. We look at the houses.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
It's a renovation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if it was a pretty house, I wouldn't have renovated if it was pretty.
Right.
It's just that's what they are. So you buy what you buy. You have 7 ways to buy them, so we can buy whatever they are. But I'd like to focus on the other ones if possible. Sure.
Right. So that goes to what I was saying before. Just focus on your marketing. Who are you sending your marketing to, and what are you saying? This is why it's all very important, because obviously if you're sending your mail, or you're promoting, or you're chasing people in foreclosure, that's what you're going to get.
Right.
Right.
Lot of
But if you
those.
change it for sale by owner, there's a whole gamut of things in there.
Right.
You know, the thing that I do know that for sale by owners want is they want the most amount of money. They don't want to pay fees or pay a realtor, and a lot of times they're willing to take payments until you can get them paid off, because they know that they're asking too much money for the house, and you can afford to give them that money when you have terms.
Right.
Right. All right. Good. So $30,000 a deal. $30,000 a deal. If you do six deals a year, 5.5 years, you got $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
40 grand a deal. If you did 4 a year in 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
you have $1 million, right?
You're putting a little more time in because they're a little bigger deals, a little more involved.
Right. Well, you're only doing 4 a year.
You're doing
Right.
less as your profit goes up. You're doing less per year.
Right. So, well, I just did the math that way. It doesn't have to be that way. I just did
Yeah.
the math so that you people will believe me.
Yeah. Well, you could say 40,000.
I
You can
have
say
done
12
much
a year.
different than
Like,
this.
sure, it'd be great, but who's gonna do?
It's not real.
No, I mean, you have to be a real machine to get that going.
So I texted Jessie before I came on. I see she's on now, but I texted Jessie, and the reason why I texted Jessie is because this past Sunday, which was the 22nd of July,
Yeah.
I had the honor of celebrating her 27th birthday.
Wow.
And,
What?
well, I was a little bit influential with her because I love chocolate mayonnaise cake, and I convinced her mother to make us chocolate mayonnaise cake. So I really love being with my daughter.
But you're
But I
saying
got the
the
big
food.
prize of the mayonnaise cake, because that used to be what they got from it. No, I'm only joking. Anyway, so
He's not joking.
You should probably explain what a mayonnaise cake is, because there's probably a lot of viewers that are like, ew.
Wait a minute, you put
in
mayonnaise on
cake?
top for frosting?
no. So mayonnaise
No.
cake is a chocolate depression cake. Back in the Depression, they didn't have eggs and milk and stuff like that, so they made it with mayonnaise. It is a very deep, rich, moist, absolutely magnificent chocolate cake. And
Yeah,
if you
got
use
the eggs and the oil right in the mayo.
Yeah, and if you
Right.
use butter frosting on top of it, the buttercream frosting on top of it, it is just the bomb.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is actually amazing.
I can't believe you're talking about this and didn't bring any of it.
Well, it's
they
in the
ate it
refrigerator,
all.
and you're not going to see the day of light. I'm going to tell you about that right now.
That's
My
what they-
father-in-law, I've got locks on the refrigerator because my father-in-law's saying, I'm like, there's mayonnaise cake in the refrigerator, and I know how many crumbs are in the bottom of that container, okay? I protect it. Anyways, so the reason why I wanted Jessie to be on the call is because she's 27. So now look at these numbers. I mean, she's got time on her side. Now, Pete, you don't have time on your side, or you think you don't have. I think you do. I think you got 30 more years to go, but that's beside the point.
But the way my mother's going,
yeah, right?
For sure.
But here's the thing is the way you're getting educated now, you could be 85 years old and still be doing this because you're just writing checks and telling people what to do and just meeting with people and doing whatever, right? So it's very, very, very,
Well,
very real.
This is supposed to be a business, not a job.
Right.
I mean, parts of it are jobby, especially in the beginning, but you move more and more towards making it a business,
Mhm.
making decisions.
So if Jessie did, if she did 4 deals a year at 40 grand a deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in 6 years she'd have $1 million. 6 years.
Mm.
So how does Jessie find a $40,000 deal? Well, instead of marketing $200,000-$300,000 houses on the MLS and trying to do renovations, what happens if she went down to Brantford or Fairfield, or
Right.
we don't even
The
have to go to
lease
Fairfield.
option.
We just go down by the water. Over here, all we gotta do is go by the ocean, and there's $600,000 houses.
Yep.
Yeah, every city has those.
Right.
You have to go. We might not travel that neighborhood all the time, but they're all over the place.
Just market.
Interesting thing is when I get people that call me about coaching, the big thing I get is I live in California. Does it work out here? I'm like, hell, I wish I lived in. Not that's the only reason why I would want to live in California, by the way. But their houses, their median price is $650,000.
The TV shows when they do renovations, it's like 3 bedrooms, like the same size ours are,
Yeah.
for 3 times the money. You know?
Yeah.
It drives me
Yeah.
crazy. I can't think of that.
So Ron LeGrand so eloquently put it, and I got to give him credit for this because credit's got to go where credit's got to go. He
Yeah.
says, the more money I waller in, the more I make. And waller in means the more, it's
Yeah.
kinda like a
Wallow.
pig.
Wallow in the mire.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pig rolling in the mud, the more, so the more money you waller in, the more money you make. And that's the reason why, is because when you start doing lease options, there's more money in the cash flow because there's more of a spread.
Mhm.
A lot of times what happens is I'll be in a house and the house will be worth, $600,000 and they bought it 20 years ago for like 150 grand.
Yeah.
And even if they do have a mortgage, the mortgage payment's like, $1,300 and we can get $2,300. Not every house, but a lot of houses. So it's very real.
But Bill, isn't it more risky to do a lease option on a very expensive house?
No, that's the amazing
What a
thing.
great question, Pete.
Because
Sounds like
actually-
I read it, but I don't have any. Yeah. Just in case someone's thinking, really, Like,
So the interesting thing is that whether I buy on a lease option, when I do a rent to own with a buyer, with a seller, I'm using the same document and the same $100 to buy the house. So whether the house is $180,000 or it's $18 million, it's the same risk. Now, the difference is going to be when you go to market it, how you're going to market it and finding that buyer. Obviously, an $18 million house, not everybody's looking for that.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things that I have found, which is kind of like I keep shooting myself in the foot. It's like a detriment to me. It's like not a good thing because it's like I have to come out of my own way of thinking. And if I was my own coach, this is what I would hammer me on. And I do, believe me, but it doesn't always go so well because I don't listen to myself.
Naomi, let's pay attention to this one. Maybe we can help Bill.
I believe that it's easier and more amenable to sell starter homes in our areas under 250,000. There's more clients and it's easier to do because the FHA mortgages and all that kind of stuff. So 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1,500 square feet type of a house is very common.
Yeah.
You start getting into those $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses. Those are usually second homes and there's less buyers. But that's because I've had some not so good experience with those. Okay. What I realized when I was writing this was that's because I'm selling a $300,000 house in an average neighborhood. Like if I were to go down to Brantford on the water and all the houses down there are $600,000, that's where people go to look for a $600,000 house.
You look
and
up
be on
and
the
down,
water.
look up the street, you look
Right.
down the street, and they're not vacant.
Right.
So people are buying them.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
message to market match,
Yeah.
as you say.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just it's a little bit, I need to relook at that. But that's the point is that when I'm in Wallingford, the average price of a house is $250. But actually it's a little bit more than that because there's neighborhoods that are $400 and then there's neighborhoods. But the average, the average is $250, I think.
Right.
Okay. Those are good houses. All right. So you got the concept of the math. I mean, we can go down further. $50,000, you got to do 20 deals. So if you did 4 a year, that's 5 years. Okay. $60,000 a deal. If you did 3 a year, it would take you 5 years. So my point is that if you're careful, in 5 years you're gonna have $1 million.
Sure.
If you just do the math.
Well, yeah. Hey, Bill, what's your last one on the sheet? Sell $100 million
No,
house.
I did the 10. So if you did 10 deals and $100 grand, you would have $1 million.
But I think it was so much value to actually doing the math.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of studies that show that when you actually sit down to figure that out, like then you're able to kind of
Well, that's what my
steer
point was
yourself.
a little while ago is that so you have to believe that it can be done. So many times in so many businesses, I'll sit down and I'll be like, I got to write a strategic plan. Right? And I didn't realize this until just recently. I mean, I write a strategic plan at least a couple times a year. What are my goals? What are my purposes? What are my statistics? That kind of stuff. But what I didn't realize is that if you have to is it real? Is it possible to get 3 $10,000 deals per month? And it is, but then I think to myself, well, do I have that machine set up? And
what would it take?
yeah,
Mhm.
right. But the point is that you have to do the math first. You have to believe it's possible, then you do the strategy. So what I realized is that when strategy doesn't work, when a strategic plan doesn't work, you undercut it with the math. Do you get what I'm saying?
Give me some examples. One example.
Suppose I want to do a strategic plan. I want to buy 2 houses a month for the next year. I want to buy 24 houses. Okay. So you get going, and what happens?
Well, you don't make your target.
Right.
Well,
so why didn't you make your target?
Well, there's sub-targets to those. You would have had to have so many of these to have so many of those, right?
Right. So what I'm saying is that before you do all that and try to unbug it or unconfuse it or unsnarl it, okay, if you just do the math, it'll undercut the strategic plan.
So did you do the math when you said you want to do 2 houses a month?
No.
It was just 2 houses. It wasn't
Right.
the amount.
Yeah.
I think an example.
So, okay, focus on the amount that you want to make.
So I'm just saying that if you do the simple math, then now what happens is it'll hone in, because the first part of any financial planning process, whether you realize this or not, if you're going to do financial planning, the first thing you need to know is where's the income coming from.
Yeah.
So in a business, it's about marketing. It's like how many letters do I need to send out to get how many phone calls, to make how many offers, to get a house.
That's right.
And that's the math I'm talking about.
Yeah, like there's 50 phone calls a day. Usually gets you 2 solid leads. 2 solid leads a day. That's about 10 leads. Out of those 10 leads, there should be about 3 to 4 appointments.
Right.
Out of those 3 to 4 appointments, about 1.
So exactly what Naomi is saying.
Yeah.
So lately what I do is when I talk to people that want to do this, I tell them, okay, so here's the deal. You have to make 20 phone calls. If you make 20 phone calls a week, by the time you get to the end of the month, you will have appointments and probably a deal. Right? If you make 20 phone calls a week, okay. Now Naomi's saying 50 a day. I don't know. That you're
to actually
definitely
take
gonna
the
do a deal.
time to do that though is
You're not talking to 50 people. You might be dialing to talk
right.
to.
Exactly. There will be a lot of voicemails left.
Yeah, so I'm talking about talking to 20 people.
Yeah.
Right. So if you talk to 20 people in a week about their house, you will make an appointment, and by the end of the month, you'll do that. So that's why I'm talking about the numbers here, because that's what you need to do. So the first goal isn't I want to make 24 deals. In fact, let me see that. Let me see that right there. We're the rules. So we're writing. I wrote a book, and Peter and I are going to be releasing this pretty soon, and it's the rules of real estate, right? So let me see if I can find it here. One of the rules that I made was, just give me a second. I'm going to look for it here. No, it's not here. Could you grab the one off of my desk for me, please? I could just do it out of my head, but I don't. I want to make sure, because I strategically wrote the words.
You said it good, huh?
Mm.
Yeah. So
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
These numbers are not based on, or are they based on the cash flow too, or just the deposits you get up front?
This is just a deposit.
Just the deposits.
Huh? Yeah. And to the point that you and Naomi were talking about earlier is that as you do deals and collect money and reinvest the money, it gets easier. You don't have to do a deal a month because you'll have incoming.
No, yeah.
Right?
Passive cash flow.
Yeah, I'd love to get one more like condo or a house like I have now, because I'm making something like $500 a month on it. Some cash, some equity, but I've had two, like I'm making $1,000.
Right.
At some point, that thing's paid off and it's actual cash in my pocket at some point.
Exactly.
I can pay it off. I can go a few more years with it, off the 10 years. Maybe I'm in the middle at 5. If I get some cash in from a deal, I can go call my seller and say, I still owe you like 25 grand. Would you take 5 or 10?
Exactly.
They go 5, 10 all at once. Yeah, okay.
It's like, okay.
10 now or 25 later.
Because time is money.
Yeah, like you want it all.
So if you want it all right now, then
I can pull 15,000 in, put 50,000 equity in just like that. And all of a sudden it's mine, and all that money is mine.
Right.
So I mean, who thinks of that? Him.
Mm-hmm.
Like you short the note or just give the person a big cash payout.
Right.
So, anyways, I'm not gonna spend too much time on this. So the point that I'm making is don't choose the goals you can do. Just don't choose goals, but choose the goals that you can do.
Well, can't you have like an overall big goal and then take it down to like a more immediate short-term goal that you can manage?
Well, yeah,
that's the point. That's the point that I'm trying to make here.
Undercutting
is
with
that
numbers, like there's daily goals.
So if what you can do, like for example, I want to lose 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The goal you should choose is instead of eating pizza, I should eat salad.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you do that, you feel like you're winning.
Yeah.
Or instead of sleeping in until 7:30 every morning, I get up at 6:30 and I exercise. That's a goal you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is for people that are getting starting, the goal they should choose is I should make 20 phone calls a week. That's a goal they can do. Not I need to make 10 grand or I need to get 3 deals or I mean those are whatever.
Well, that happens.
I mean,
I
think it's all
that
congruent
happens at the end,
though.
not the
You have
beginning.
to have the end goal, and then, like you said, undercutting.
I don't even think you need that.
There's the why factor, like why am I doing this?
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, it'll happen or should happen as a side effect, but to just break it all down statistically. The other thing that I want to add too, if somebody messes up and say they don't do their calls or whatnot, to not be discouraged, to keep going, because same thing as everything in life. Like say you forget to eat, say you forget to eat lunch, are you going to get all depressed and say, oh, I messed up, so I'm not going to eat anymore?
Right.
It's just like everything else. You just pick it back up from where you went and keep going.
So I want to move on, but I just found it, so I'm just going to read it to you, okay? And you'll hear about this later. So it's called rule number 53: goals are for losers. Right?
No, you're supposed to have goals in life.
2 points I want to make here. Goals are, and these are just my own notes to me, so we can talk about it, right? So 2 points I want to make here. Goals are only as good as your habits. Habits are really your system on how you do things, right? So you have to have a system to back up your goals. So goals are only as good as the system or habits that can deliver them, right? Have a good system or habits, and you will have a better chance of hitting your goals in life, right? So if you say, I want to buy and sell real estate, so many people come into my funnels and they're like, I want to buy and sell real estate, and then they get involved and they do nothing. It's like, I just had a coaching client, I just dealt with this. I mean, I spent some multiple hours in a week with him trying to figure out. I mean, he's got sick. He's got a disability child that's like a handicap.
Okay.
Right. And I get it. And I get all that stuff. And it's like weeks go by and he hasn't set up his life. So what we did was I told him, you need to go talk to your wife and you need to it's got to be like your job. It's like at 10 o'clock, I work from 10 until noon. Like you go off to your job and you punch in, you go in the other room, you go to the library, you go wherever and you do your work and you come back.
Right.
If you're not going to do that, then that's a habit.
Right.
So if you have a habit of calling 20 people a week and it's part of your routine because that's how you're going to get $1 million and at the end of 6 years, then it will make a difference. All right. And then number 2, because I said there's 2 points I want to make just because I want to finish this up. Number 2 is only make goals you can control, not ones you can't control. Example, my goal is to lose 50 pounds. Well, maybe your body isn't genetically set to be 50 pounds less, or maybe it is, right? Instead of making a goal to lose 50 pounds, instead make the goal to eat salad instead of pizza or go to the gym instead of the bar, right? True happiness comes from attaining these small goals. Most think hitting the big goal is true happiness. Really it is conquering these small obstacles along the way that make you feel good about attaining the big goal. So if you're winning with these small goals, like I made my 20 calls this week, it'll put gasoline into your engine so you can keep driving.
That's really, really important.
That's huge.
We've been having this little conversation lately. How many days a month are you happy, or are you? It's a good day, and it's not a really good number when you ask most people.
Right.
And I had a few good days recently, and I looked and said, "How did I do that?" And I had challenges like you get every day. You wake up with challenges, but I beat them several days. Like I just pounded things, and it wasn't that hard, but I was just totally determined what would happen.
Right.
Lightly, and it just did. And like, whew, hey, that worked out, and you
Right.
feel good by the end of the day because you won more than you lost, and that's all it is. You win, you lose every day. Something, whatever it is, but you just got to win more than lose, and it'll be an okay. How's your day? It was good. I won more than I lost. Now I don't have a big lose, but
Right.
you just win more than you lose.
But let's
You
just
keep-
say,
keep hammering
even
at
if
it.
you lost more than you won, so the time is going to pass either way. How are you going to spend the time? You can choose to be happy, or you can be miserable.
That's euphoric. Sorry.
Well, I mean,
Euphoric means you have problem. You're really happy and you really think that everything's good because you're ignoring your problems.
Well,
No, you shouldn't.
boy, I'm in the middle of both of you. There's an example of yours that is absolutely true. I asked somebody like, "I'm happy most of the time." Like, I said, "You shouldn't be because there's shit to do. There's stuff going on." To your point, like if things are bad, you don't have to be miserable about it.
Right. I'm
You
not
can
saying
just try
like
to keep a decent attitude. and
right.
put your
I'm
attention
not
on the
saying
wins.
exactly. I'm
Yeah.
not saying to ignore the problems.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. To address the problem, but you don't need to be in misery when you're doing it. Like you go to work, you get your stuff done, but you're putting a smile on your face when you're answering the phone. You're,
Those happy moments are what revitalize or recharges your batteries. They have to be there, but don't overcome it. Don't don't overdo it.
Right.
Where you get these people that are like, oh, I worked all week, so when they come, they work their 8 hours a day, and
Right.
when they come home, they do nothing.
Oh, I gotta
Or
chill.
all weekend.
I gotta
they just
chill.
Do
I
nothing.
gotta
Yeah,
relax. I gotta.
chill.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
All right, so
It's too
we're
late.
way too late
Anyhow.
because I still have a whole page of notes. that
Yes.
we haven't
Okay.
covered.
So
Nate,
So
let's just. Yeah, we're getting off the mic.
it's all right.
Just-
We're
just
going to cover it
bang it
fairly
out.
quick here. Emmy's looking at the clock. We're already at an hour. All right.
Ooh.
So the punchline that I want to make here is, what you should ask yourself is, who's got my money? If you want $1 million, you should be asking yourself, who's got my money? In this case, who's got my equity? Right? How could you plan if you don't ask this question? Who's got my money?
I like
Right?
it.
So you should make a list of people or a list of ways that you can get this money. Now, what we've done is we've done a lot of that for you because we tell you to go find for sale by owners. They have your money. For sale by owners have your money. The other thing that we don't talk about a lot is we still do direct mail with yellow letters. Out of area owners is a good place. They have your money. Okay. The other thing that I want to cover is you don't need to make money. And this is where I thought we were going to spend most of the show. Believe it or not, we didn't even get there.
Tune in next
Right?
week.
You don't need to make money. What you need to do is you need to connect with the people that have money, have your money, because you're saying, who has my money? So you need to connect with those people, not fake or anything like that. You know, don't like chum them up because they like, oh, be my pal so you can give me your money. I'm not talking about that.
He has a nice car.
Yeah, that's another thing. Make sure because he has a nice car, it doesn't mean he has money. It might mean he has a big payment.
He might be a dummy, like
Right.
I bought a car.
Yeah. So
Seen that.
So you need to ask, who has my money, and then you don't need to make money. What you need to do is you need to find those people that have your money or have the money and figure out what they're willing to exchange with you to get the money. And this is what we do. We have knowledge and solutions for people that can't sell their houses, and they have the money. So what we do is we look for what we call a motivated seller, which means they have my money, and I exchange with them some solution so that they'll give me the money and I'll give them what they want.
That's right.
Right? And if you do that, so if you spend all your time with people that can't exchange with you because they have no money, you'll end up being someone who can't pay either.
Now who's a dummy?
Right?
Sure.
So
That's bad wallowing.
yeah, and all these are going to turn into rules, by the way. I just haven't finished. I just haven't gotten that far with them, all right? So really, the more people you can help with your abilities, right, the more money you can have. So if you guys study, especially my stuff or anybody's stuff, anybody, Ron LeGrand, Dan Merrill, Kiyosaki, I don't know, give me some more names.
Robert Allen.
Robert Allen. Wherever you pick any one of these guys who you study from and you get good at it and you have the ability, then what you need to ask is, who has my money?
Right.
And who has your money? The motivated seller. So how do I exchange with that motivated seller so that he's willing to pay me that money to help solve his problem?
Mm-hmm.
And if you concentrate on that and you believe that that is correct, then now it's just a matter of, okay, I need to do 6 deals a year at 30 grand a deal so I can make, in 5 years or 5.5 years, I can have $1 million. Right?
That's right.
So what we were talking about at first is do the math and then the strategy, and now we're talking about the strategy. Like, who has my money? You have to always ask yourself. Grant Cardone is where I heard this from. He's amazing with that. Who's got my money? He does a whole thing on it. He's got videos on it. He didn't invent it, I'm sure of that, but he talks about it all the time. So you want to hear more about this? Go talk to Grant Cardone. He's a maniac, right? So you keep asking yourself, who's got my money, and how can I help them? If you say that every morning when you wake up, like, who's got my money?
Oh,
you need to know.
And how can I help them?
Yeah,
that's
Exactly.
important.
yeah.
So
So
key.
who's got my money, and how can I help them? So if you wake up every morning and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I need to do 6 deals this year, or 5 deals or 6 deals. What does it say here? I got to do 6 deals this year at $30,000 a deal. So what you do is you don't think about, how do I find 6 deals? What you wake up in the morning thinking to yourself is, how can I find a person that has my 30 grand? Where's my 30 grand?
Mm-hmm.
How can I find them? Where are they? And what can I do to help them to get my 30 grand?
Mm-hmm.
So then you get on the phone and you make your 20 phone calls with that intention. Are you the person that has my 30 grand, and can I help you?
Is that the first question?
Mm-hmm.
But you
No,
get it? When
sure,
you have that
sure.
viewpoint, and when you're making the phone call with that intention, how will the phone call change?
Yeah, I don't have it as specific as you just said, but that's on my mind when I call people. What's going on? What kind of thing are they dealing with their house? And is there a way for me to help them? One of your coaching clients called me yesterday for a little bit of help on a guy. Way too late, like a year later on the foreclosure. But that was the point. Like, how can we help this guy? That's totally the point.
Right.
I mean, money is always helping somebody or delivering some service or product. It isn't just getting money. You punch in and they hand you money. You have to do something to earn it. Do something.
And sometimes it's
service.
not like hard physical labor, it's simply the knowledge that you have.
Or the
That's
idea.
all.
The idea.
Yeah.
So let's just do simple math. All right. Suppose we were to call 20 people a week. Okay. For 50 weeks, because you're going to take 2 weeks off for vacation. For 50 weeks, that's 1,000 phone calls. Are you going to tell me that if you use my script and just have this idea in your head, like, who can I call? Who's got my money? Who's got my 30 grand? Right? And how can I help them? And you do that every single week or every single day, and by the way, 20 phone calls, okay? If you did 5 days a week, that's 4 phone calls a day. So I don't give a flying F. I want to swear, and I won't, because I don't give a flying
FCC rules.
Truck. You could do that in your lunch hour. There is some time in your day where you can make 4 phone calls.
Yeah. Out of 4 phone calls, people are going to say no. That's a fast phone call.
Right.
That's 2-3 minutes and you're done.
Right.
And the other one that's kind of hopeful, you can spend 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe at max
Right.
just to get the first call going.
Here's the point. Out of
That's not a lot of
1,000
time.
people in a year, do you think that you can find 6 people that will be willing to lease their house to you or sell their house to you and make 30 grand? Will there be 6? That's 6%. No.
No, it's
It's less.
That's
Point
a
zero.
half a
Point-
percent.
0.06, something like that.
It's a 0.5% of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you made 20 phone calls a week, do you think you could find 6 people where you could make 30 grand a month, 30 grand on, based on, the information we're giving you,
Mhm.
right? Could you lease a property, or could you do that?
If not, there's a whole bunch of people making money doing it. That
Right.
must be wrong.
Right. So, if you have a shortage of money, it's because you're investing your time with the wrong people, and you're not applying what we're talking about today on the show. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, this is not a plug, but it sounds like it. Actually, I'm just going to plug it. I don't care. I'm not even going to try to hide it. Honest to God, if you listen to this podcast, right, and you go buy my $500 course, which is like stupid cheap, okay, because I have people that are, I got a girl that was with me 27 days and she's bought 2 houses. She bought one house for 300, that's worth 300,000, paid 105,000. She also bought a $150,000 house for 80,000. I have another client that just picked up a $150,000 house for $77,000. I mean, I could go on. My memory is not always as good as it should be, but just in the last 6 months,
I just heard
stories.
those.
Yeah.
I
The
talked to them too.
stories that these people tell me that they go into this course and they follow it in the houses they're getting. Okay, so where else could you go spend $500? Literally in a weekend. You don't even have to do the whole course. You could do the first 2 or 3 modules to get going, and then you do the course as you need it. So when you find a deal, you go watch the how to do the paperwork.
Next step.
When it's time for you to sell the deal, you go watch this. You don't even have to watch the whole course. So you could literally in an afternoon buy this course, in a few hours study it, and I know you could do that, and then just do what we're talking about, exactly what we talked about in this podcast. Make 20 phone calls, have the right intention, ask yourself, who's got my money? Put your plan together. Your strategy is, I want to do 6 deals at 30 grand, and 5 years or 5.5 years or 6 years, I got $1 million. Where are you going to go for $500 and do that? I don't know. I can't even begin to tell you.
The place it went cost me almost that much just for the weekend introductory thing, which left me lost. And the next step was thousands. I don't want to say how much it was, which I didn't do.
40,000. My point is that so many people have that experience.
Like 30, 40,000.
So many people have that experience that when I come along and I actually give them something that's truthful and really does work, they think I'm part of those scammers too, and that it doesn't work, and that I'm just another one of those.
Or there's just a little tiny piece you need to spend a ton more for the next part. There's plenty just here to get the deals right here.
We have people. Well, I got a guy from Virginia that's my coaching client now. He listened to this podcast for 10 months and bought 5 houses.
Yeah, off the podcast.
Just the podcast.
Yeah.
I have people in Missouri, in Arizona, in Las Vegas. I mean, all over. Send me emails telling me that they have deals and they want help.
Yeah,
just from listening to the podcast.
It's got to be the difference. That some people just don't have the courage or the balls, anything you want to call it, to just do it. And some are just, I'm gathering information. Don't be chicken.
Right.
I mean, with at least put $100 down. I mean, how cheap can you get this to be safe enough to do it at the same time?
So now that we've broken it down, so today we talked about the millionaire math, right? So how many deals you got to do? I mean, I picked 30,000 because I think that's very real, and you do a half a dozen of those a year, which I think is even more real. And how do you get a half a dozen of those? Well, you start calling 20 FSBOs a week. And the course that I have for $500 will show you how to do all the paperwork. It will show you how to sell them. It'll show you how to advertise them. It'll show you it shows you everything. You don't need my coaching. You don't need any of that. You just go in there and just do it. Where are you going to find that for $500? You're not going to. If you are, I want to know about it because I want to do what they're doing or talk to them because I don't know anybody in the industry who's doing it. I am doing what I talked about, Peter, quite a while ago. I know we're over, and I'm going to end off here in a minute. I'm doing exactly what I talked about several months ago. I'm doing the Henry Ford model. Henry Ford said that his dream was he wanted every American to be able to have an affordable automobile.
Yeah.
And it's 100 years later, and look what happened. I'm saying that I want every American to have the ability to make money with real estate, and at this point, make $1 million because it can be done. You could do it in 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, depending on how fast or how slow you go. It's all going to come down to the things that we talked about today in this podcast. Just basic habits. Making 20 phone calls a week. Maybe you do 40 1 week and none the next day. Maybe you're like Naomi and get on the phone and use an auto dialer and do 50 a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Whatever. But if you minimally do 20 a week, it could work. You could be a millionaire in 5 or 6 years. For real.
Yep.
I broke it out mathematically. The rest is up to what you believe in your habits. That's what's holding you back. Is whether you believe me or whether you're willing to change your habits. And if you don't do that, just like what I said here, so let me see here. You spend all your time with people who can't exchange with you because they have no money, you'll end up being someone who can't pay money either.
Mm.
And that's what most people do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
So here we go, episode number 107. The name of it is Millionaire Math, and here's the description. I want to make sure we covered it. How many different people, I'll give that to you again. How many different ways can you collect $1 million? Have we talked about that today?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Have you done the math to know the possibilities? We did that. Listen to this podcast and gain a new perspective on how real it can be. Wealth requires simple, basic math. Ask any wealthy person and they will tell you this. In fact, math will create the possibility in your mind. Once this is done, you can then create a strategy. Most don't do the basic step. Thus, the strategy doesn't work. So, if you have a goal of making $1 million, listen to this entire podcast and make it achievable. And I think we've covered it all. What do you think?
We have.
I think the show is actually very helpful to me personally. There's some good stuff from me today that would help me.
It was helpful to me to write it and go through the drill.
Mm.
So if it's helping me and it's helping you,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's helping other people.
Yep.
So with that said, over and out. See you next week.
Over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.